Oh my goodness, I am nervous. Nervous. I apologize to everyone up here who shook my hand because they had to have shook the sweatiest hand that they have shook all week. But my daddy said that if you're not nervous, then that means you don't care about it enough. And so I do care about it a lot, as evidenced by my clammy hands. Before we get started, I need a volunteer. Now, I'm looking right here because of your centralized location, and the youthful appearance gives me the impression that you may have a knack for technology, and you may have a decent phone, one of the phones with 3 lenses on the back. Can I have one of the 3 of you please record my presentation? It's my daughter's first day in 2nd grade, and my wife is really excited, both about her first day and about my presentation, and I would love the opportunity to post it on social media and share it with them. So thank you all so very much. And with that out the way, how is everybody doing today? All right, snap a finger, stomp your feet, put your hands together, do something. All right. You know, growing up, old folks used to tell me it's good to be seen. It's better to be seen and not viewed. So give glory to God for another day on this beautiful planet here. If you woke up this morning and you're happy that you did, put your hands together. Now, I was introduced as Dr. Richard Watkins. My doctorate is in the form of a PhD in microbiology and immunology from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where I specialize. Okay, we got a Tar Heel back there? All right, that's what's up. I should have did a call and response and said, Tar. There we go. All right, listen, I got off track. First and foremost, glory to God. I also have to give a huge shout out to the 7th Episcopal District and Bishop Walker, sitting right here, Bishop Walker. I also have to give a shout out to my elder, Dr. Clifford Harris. Is Dr. Clifford Harris in the building? There we go. See, I'm just a boy from 510 West Rosemary Street in the heart of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where I call St. Joseph CME Church home. John Cradle and First Lady Lynette Cradle are leaders of our church, and I just want to give them a huge shout out and round of applause for allowing me to be here. I'd also like to give a thanks to Bishop Marvin Thomas and also Bishop Kenneth Carter, the host bishop, and Bishop Denise Anders Modest, the program chair. And I also have to give a huge shout out to Senior Bishop Lawrence Reddick. Now, I have to give a brief story to tell you all how I got here. Bishop Anders Modest said I had a little bit of time, so please forgive me for telling a story. I like to tell stories. When the pandemic first started, everyone was rightfully scared and confused and didn't really know what was going on. And so my church gathered together to discuss what it was going to do. And as the conversations were going, I kept putting my hand up and say, that's coronavirus. Sir, that it's a respiratory virus. It spreads via droplets. When you talk, you aerosolize things in your mouth, and it carries a virus. And if it lands on a surface and you touch your face, your eyes, your mouth, you can become infected. After a while, I continued to participate. Reverend John Cradle looked at me and he said, boy, what are you, some kind of scientist? I said, yes, sir, I am. I actually am. And he said, well, what kind of science do you study? I say, I study viruses. He's like, Lord, oh my goodness. So next thing you know, I'm giving workshops to my church and more churches here, and I'm giving workshops to the entire district. And Bishop Walker gave me a call and said, listen, I'd like to recommend you to the Conference of National Black Churches. See, they have an initiative underway where they are trying to ameliorate disparities in regards to vaccine uptake. See, when the vaccines first came out, there were huge disparities in regards to access, where those in the in crowd had all of the vaccines and all of the knowledge where the vaccines were being distributed, where the black community, oftentimes, especially the poor black community, did not have access to those life-saving vaccines. And it was a huge problem because as far as health goes, if there is a problem, then it is twice as large and twice as problematic in the black community. If you need to know exactly what I'm talking about, if you ever rode up and down the elevator in this here hotel and you looked out of the elevator in the window facing those two giant stadiums, the Smoothie Arena is an American health problem, but the Superdome is an African American health problem. See, no matter what the problem is, it is twice as bad in the African American community, which is why I was so very excited to have the opportunity to work with the Conference of National Black Churches under this distinguished leadership of Chair Franklin Richardson and President Jackie Burton, the latter of which is one of our very own, CME. And I'm so very excited, and I didn't want to mess anything up, so I want to read it verbatim. If you, those who don't know what the Conference of National Black Churches is, let me be the first to present it to you. Now, the Conference of National Black Churches represents the largest African American churches and denominations across the country, representing over 80% of black Christians here in this country. Now, together, the leadership moves towards the mission, and I do not want to miss a single word of this mission, so I'm going to read it verbatim for you. The Conference of National Black Churches, CNBC, is the premier public policy and social justice expression of the black ecclesiastical denominations we represent in America. Our mission is to speak with a unified voice of black religious bodies that seeks to improve the quality of life for African Americans as they seek to reach their full potential in American society. CNBC is committed to a national strategy of black church innovation in 4 key areas: social justice and public policy, criminal justice reform, health, including supporting hunger initiatives, and lastly, education, especially the advancement of academic excellence for children in marginalized communities. Towards the ultimate goal, CNBC uses the influence and power of the leadership of historically black denominations to serve as a critical educational, organizational base, voice, and influence to advocate for African Americans. Through CNBC, the member denominations work collectively to become a permanent point of interdenominational coordination for addressing systemic social change that will ultimately result in improving the quality of life for African Americans and other underserved. The headquarters of CNBC is based in Atlanta, Georgia. If you like that mission and you like that goal, say amen. That's what I'm talking about. Now, we are so very happy that you are here today for this particular presentation. And I'm so happy, you got to be happy that everyone else is here. And if you're happy that everyone else is here, please look at your neighbor and say, I'm happy that you're here. Now look at your other neighbor and say, I'm happy that you're here. Now see, that's all it takes. That's all it takes to spread coronavirus. That's all it takes. I had to make that point crystal clear because some people are trying to figure out whether or not they should wear a mask. Like, should I wear a mask? Should I not wear a mask? Well, just on that little small experiment alone, that evidence should be clear. Yes, you should wear a mask. But if that little anecdote wasn't enough, please allow me to tell you a few stats right? So I just told you if there is a problem, then it's twice as problematic in the black community. But as we are here today, COVID cases are on the rise. COVID deaths are too on the rise. COVID hospitalizations are also on the rise. Now, I know there was a brief eye of the storm, but we are back in the thick of it again. Not as bad as before. We have more tools and resources, but we are back in the thick of it. And I'd like to remind you that we are not just talking about the virus that causes COVID-19. We are talking about influenza, the virus that causes the flu, and respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, another virus that causes flu-like symptoms. The latter, RSV, is particularly problematic in our smallest of children and our oldest of citizens. And we have to do everything in our power to protect them. Now, we have at our disposal vaccines, one of which was invented by my friend, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, who I had the honor and privilege to work with. I hope she wins the Nobel Prize for inventing this life-saving COVID vaccine. But we also have a RSV vaccine. For the first time in human history, we have a vaccine towards RSV. Now, for the past 3 years, the Conference of National Black Churches has been mobilizing the black church to ameliorate hesitancy, vaccine hesitancy within the black community. We first started off by offering workshops and inviting many of you to those workshops. Then it evolved towards encouraging each and every one of you to hold a vaccine clinic at your church. Show of hands, who here has held a vaccine clinic? All right. I see nothing but opportunity out here. All right, let me ask a different way. Who here wants to host a vaccine clinic? All right. Very good, very good. Now, it's incredible that the hands that I see held up, because we have 3 vaccines that will soon be available for the first time in human history: the RSV vaccine, the influenza vaccine, because seasons, the virus changes, a new vaccine has to be made available. And at the end of September, according to the director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Mandy Cohen, a new coronavirus vaccine, COVID vaccine, will be made available at the end of September. Almost everyone in this room is due for that up-to-date vaccine. It's imperative. It is a matter of life and death, which is why my hands are so sweaty, because you all have to save this country. And not just the black community, but the country depends on our actions. So I encourage each and every one of you to visit our table right across the hall and put your name down. Listen, I'm not trying to do anything but give away money. We had a money person over here earlier. And I don't know, would you advise running away from free money? Would that be in your financial? No, that would be against your wisdom, right? So please sign up, because a grant has been made available from the CDC to the Conference of National Black Churches for the express purpose of helping us host vaccine clinics. So please visit with myself or my colleague, Dr. DeAndre Thurman, up front, and put your name down, and we will send you the application so that you can apply for this money so you can host a vaccine clinic and keep your community safe. Please, I beg of you, visit us, put your name down, and if you have any questions whatsoever about the vaccine, about viruses, or anything in between, please come and visit me. Because whether it's influenza A or B, COVID-19, or RSV, that ain't got nothing on CME. Because that ain't got nothing on GOD, right? So please, 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 I beg you, come and visit me, sign up, and let's do away with this virus once and for all. We've been dealing with it for far too long. It's time to put it behind us. Thank you all so very much for your time and attention, and I'm happy to be of service in any way that I can. Thank you to the organizers, and thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you. Sure. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. So the question is the timing of fitting into the categories. So for the influenza or flu shot, if you haven't had it, then it will be made available to you immediately. The scheduling isn't quite the same. We are always experiencing different flu seasons and different types of flu, meaning that the vaccine always has to be redesigned so that we are kept safe. The reason oftentimes that we need so many different vaccines is because so many of us choose for one reason or another not to get vaccinated. What that does is it makes it very easy on the virus. It makes it extremely easy on the virus to change. And as it changes, we have to go back to the drawing board and create a new vaccine. So that's the situation with the flu. RSV, you can just take it because there has never been an RSV vaccine before. So if you would like to take it, you don't have to fit into any kind of schedule. You can take it immediately, especially if you are concerned about a young child, infant, or if you're getting up there in age, it's particularly for you. And as far as the most up-to-date COVID-19 vaccine, it is not yet available. The CDC says it will be available at the end of September. So at the end of September, I'm going to be emailing everyone here, especially those who signed up, say, all right, let's get our act together. We've got a new vaccine available. Let's get it out to our community. So that is the timetable for those vaccines. And I also like to remind another important vaccine is the shingles vaccine. So the three that I mentioned are just for respiratory viruses, but the shingles virus is associated with chicken pox. And as you get older, it reemerges through the nervous system, and it is excruciatingly painful. There's a vaccine for that now, so you can avoid a lot of that pain. Yes?
Thank you. Let me thank you for your presentation. I've had the shingles vaccine, so I'm glad you've mentioned that.
Thank you.
Two questions. What is the latest booster for COVID that is already out in case someone may have missed it? And if they did miss it, do they need to take it before the one at the end of September? Do you have to take them in a certain order? The second question is on the RSV.
Yes.
I think you mentioned this, but just for certainty, some of the media I've been following have said that it is of greater threat to the younger people than older people. But could you speak to the importance of it for those who are middle-aged as well as becoming seniors?
Absolutely. So the two questions are regarding COVID-19 vaccines, boosters, what's the latest, should you take it, knowing the next one is coming out. And the recommendations are that you take that vaccine that is available, the most current booster, if you haven't taken it yet. Now, many of you know what I'm about to say because your primary health care provider has recommended that you take that booster again because it has been so long since your last shot that there are concerns that your immunity has waned. Many speculate that that plays a role into the rise of hospitalizations that we are seeing. So, one, people are feeling more comfortable not masking, feeling more comfortable getting together. That provides an opportunity for the virus to be transmitted. And two, immunities may be waning over time. And three, as variants constantly emerge, they have the ability to escape the immunity our bodies have towards our most recent vaccination. So all of those things are playing a role in some way, shape, fashion, or form in the rise of cases and in the rise of hospitalizations. And anecdotally, I know many of you have noticed that at your annual conferences, a lot of your participants are saying they have gotten sick and that they have tested positive for the virus that causes COVID. So both anecdotally we know this is true, and by the numbers we also know it's true. Now regarding the RSV vaccine, you are absolutely right. It is a huge problem for children, and it is a huge problem for the elderly because the immunity is not yet developed when you're young. It has to be educated over time. And so you don't have a good immune system when you're a small child, and therefore virtually everything can give you a snotty nose and make you sick, but children are like small bouncy balls. They just bounce right back. Many of you who have taken care of small children will see a small child with a snotty nose, but then it almost puts you in the grave. That's just how kids go. They just bounce back. And for the elderly population, their immune systems are much like a child, because while a child's immune system is not yet developed, as you get older in age, the immune system tapers off. Now, that is huge because those people who are strong and resilient in the middle, right? It's often the young ones, right? Who are like, I ain't got to wear a mask, I'm feeling good, I'm strong, you know what I'm saying? But just because you don't get sick, it doesn't mean that you're not carrying the virus. See, that's the tricky thing about viruses. You can feel good. You're like, I'm not even coughing. I don't feel good. I feel great. I don't feel good. I feel great. But that doesn't mean you're not carrying the virus. And you can come in contact with a child who doesn't have the luxury of having that strong immune system like you got. Or you may come in contact with someone who was blessed enough to be up there in years, and they don't have the immune system that you got. And one of the things that the vaccine does is the vaccine allows your immune system to tackle and take out the circulating virus in your body, therefore making it less likely that you will transmit the virus to somebody more vulnerable. So therein lies the importance of everyone being vaccinated. The vaccine rolls out to the most vulnerable first and then is made available to the strong. But everybody has to get vaccinated because the truth of the matter is, when we talk about immunity, there's a little root word in there, unity. Right? I'm not making this up. I mean, I'm not the best speller. I didn't do very good on spelling bees, but the root word is unity, meaning that we're all in it together. So what you do impacts somebody else. So I encourage the people who have the strong immune system between the ages of 18 and 40, you too need to get vaccinated because there are people who don't have that same immune system that you have. So did I answer your question? Thank you. Okay.
Janice Smith, 5th Episcopal District. What is the youngest age that they can receive the RSV vaccine?
So I don't want to give you misinformation.
Okay.
I knew it, but I forgot it. But if you stop by the table, I can get you this information. And I will also encourage each and every one of you to visit the CNBC website. We have information regarding vaccines there. And go to the CDC to get your information one of the biggest problems that we are seeing when dealing with this is the prevalence of misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation are people who are trying to do the right thing, but they don't know that the information that they're sharing is not accurate. And disinformation is information that's intentionally misleading. So with that going on, I recommend each and every one of you to get all of your information from the CDC or come directly to me. I'm of service to you. I represent the CME Church, myself, along with Dr. Thurman. Please come to us if you have any questions or concerns. So hopefully that answered the question.
Many people that I've known, and also myself, have been vaccinated, got COVID, and experienced brain fog, loss of attention, loss of concentration. Will the new vaccine address that? Or if not, for those of us that experience that, what are some things we can do to kind of help get our concentration back, get our memories back?
Yeah, that's a very, so the question was about brain fog and other symptoms involving long COVID. And I think that's one of the things that I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the best things you can do is never to get COVID, right? So the virus that you're infected with is called SARS-CoV-2. You can carry it without ever getting sick. But once you start getting sick, that is when you're said to have COVID, coronavirus disease, okay? After you've cleared the virus from your system, you still oftentimes have long-lasting side effects. And to my understanding, currently, the vaccines are not able to ameliorate a lot of those long-term consequences of having COVID. What the vaccines are designed to do is to prevent you from getting COVID in the first place. In addition to brain fog, a lot of people describe problems with fertility. Other people describe problems with the loss of the ability to smell, along with brain fog and other confusion. I had a colleague that had COVID and tested positive for the virus that causes COVID. And after she recovered, she constantly expressed the inability to remember things, being easily confused, and having a basically hard time doing her job. So it is a huge problem, and I'm very sorry that you're experiencing that. Research is being done to figure out ways to kind of regain some of that cognition, whether it's brain exercises, memory exercises, so on and so forth. But as far as my understanding to date, there's nothing else that we can do at this time except prevent you from getting COVID. Yes?
I have a question. We just talked about RSV. And like some of us here, I'm a grandmother. I have a 2-year-old granddaughter and a 7-month-old granddaughter. And I remember RSV from a while back. So before traveling to this meeting, I went to get my booster, my influenza, something else, I can't remember. And they told me they had an RSV vaccine. So I opted to get that, okay? And I'm a ripe old age. Why come my insurance company paid for everything else but my RSV vaccination, including my Medicare? And I think they told me they paid like $2 and something, and the cost I paid for the RSV vaccine was like $330. But my granddaughter's lives are more important to me than $330, so obviously I got it. But something's wrong with that, and we need to think about that when we go to the polls.
I'm I'm not even sure that was a question. That was just a statement. Make sure y'all vote. 2 V's, get vaccinated and vote. That's a responsible individual and citizen. Put your hands together.
Well, I'm just saying, if it's important for us to have it, just like any other medication, any other precaution,
Yeah.
there's a disparity there that, you know, you're on Medicare, Medicare don't pay for it. I'm fortunate enough to still have health care insurance. And is it because it's new, it's experimental?
I don't, that's a political, regulatory, insurance question. I don't have the insight to that. But what I will tell you is that the black community is much more likely to be uninsured compared to our white counterparts. And so bringing up that insurance question is important, but I'm not able to get into it because I just don't have that understanding into that minutia. All right, thank you all so very much. If you have any further questions, please visit me or Dr. Thurman or our table. Thank you all so very much.